Hey, welcome back. I have been having the craziest tech issues for a minute, but I figured it out. I have a solution and I'm back. So let's get into the video. So, I wanted to give you a quick, easy, spoiler free movie recommendation. And this week, today, our movie recommendation is Land of Bad. Now, the director of this film is William Eubank. I think that's how you pronounce it. With the cast being Liam Hemsworth and Russell Crowe. Those two are the main leads of the movie, and everybody else are side characters. Luke Hemsworth, Liam's brother, is also in this movie, and he produced it. So you might recognize this director if you've seen This Signal, which came out in 2014, or Underwater, which came out in 2020. I personally did watch that movie, and I didn't realize it was the same director when watching it, because I haven't gotten a feel for his style since it's only really been two movies for me. But you might recognize him, you might not. He's mostly new for me. So when you look up a summarized version of the plot for this movie, this is what it will most likely come up. When a Delta force is ambushed in enemy territory, their only hope lies with an Air Force drone pilot as the eye in the sky during a brutal 48-hour battle for survival. Which is pretty accurate. That's what it is. That's what the entire movie is. It's basically a fight for survival. And if that's not what you're not into like a survival movie, you're not into anything pertaining war, then I don't recommend this film. But if war doesn't make you like queasy, if you're not really frightened or you like to step into that kind of territory, then I would recommend this movie deeply. Now, I myself am not a war genre kind of person. I don't usually go into that area. I'm not a war person at all. Don't watch war movies at all. But this particular war film caught my attention when it first dropped, and I didn't know if I wanted to watch it. I was going back and forth for a few days, I believe, thinking, should I press it, should I not? I did end up pressing it, and it was really good. It was really good. I would give it probably a 4 out of 5 stars, personally. Now, to help better prepare you for this movie, there are a few trigger warnings you're gonna wanna know before stepping into it. So, like, there's a few torture scenes. There's obviously death and killing because it's a war film. Language, if you have children in the room, I really wouldn't recommend watching this around child. Definitely not a film for children. So if none of that turns you off, I suggest you watch it. And it's not too bad either. It's not constant, it's not extremely graphically gory either. It has its moments and then it doesn't. It's not like something that's super bad. I don't think I can watch this anymore. It's not super gory at all, but it does have its moments. Let's just say basically if blood isn't your thing, neither is this movie. So this movie is an action war movie. And by that I mean an action movie is an excuse to use bombs and a rig of some sorts. In any way, whether you're pretending to be on a dragon or you're jumping off a mountain, but it's not a real mountain, it's a CGI mountain. And a war movie is a more slow kind of movie. It's also, got talks of death on a larger scale than just the main character dying or the main character's friends. It's more important than that. It's world ending, literally, but in a more brutal way than some fantasy creatures coming. It's realistic. It's supposed to be depressing. War movies are usually darker in tone and in all other aspects like lighting, music, location. War movies are just darker inherently than action movies are. This movie plays in both genres to me. It's an action war movie. So I really like the protagonist and even the antagonists were extremely believable. And the two main characters, I like them. The side characters felt good, functional, like they had a reason to be here, not like a waste of dialogue or to, stretch out the film, but more so that all of the side characters played a purpose and the main plot of the story, which felt good. It felt believable, just like the dialogue, I would say. The characters, the dialogue, it was all well acted, all interesting. Never was it, was I taken aback by anybody's line delivery or anything like that. The movie, all the side characters played a part. It felt completely focused on the plot, on plot progression, but also focused on time management, because the pacing of this movie was also really good. Like, I enjoyed the pacing as well. It wasn't drawn out or, cutting just two random events. It wasn't rushed or drawn out. It was perfect to me. The pacing of this movie, for what the movie was perfect. Now, this pacing wouldn't work on every movie, but for what the movie is, I like the pacing. I like the dialogue, because all the dialogue felt like the characters. It felt like it was natural, and it was made completely for plot progression, and so we can move the movie forward. Every line felt like that. Every delivery, and the actors, the characters, they all felt like plot progression. And I enjoyed that, because a lot of the times, especially when we're watching like a long TV show or something, the characters are kind of just wasting space on the television. They don't really have a purpose. Characters without a purpose kind of feel like, why are you here to me? Do you serve anything other than to be an extra? Because if you're not going to serve a purpose, stop talking and just be an extra. You know what I mean? You can be an extra and it be okay, but don't waste time. Or unless you're gonna give me a side plot, in which case it would still be plot progression in some. But I never felt like that with this movie. Never did I think that I didn't like the characters or anything like that. Now, I will say that the characters aren't exactly extremely drawn out, in a way that I couldn't tell you much about the main character. Not in a bad way. If you watch it, you'll see what I'm saying. And it's not a bad thing that I don't know too much about him, and it makes sense for the environment that he's in that I don't know much about him, which is why I'm perfectly fine with it, and it makes complete sense without taking away from the movie. Had they told me 1,000 things about his backstory, it would have taken away from, which is why I'm glad that they didn't do that. So I really appreciate the characters, the dialogue, the pacing, the way that the movie was filmed like an action movie, but also like a war movie at the same time. Even the trigger warnings had their purposes. The things that I brought up earlier that I said you probably don't want to watch this film, even those things had its purpose. It's in there for a reason, not just to show you violence, but why is it happening? What is going on? It also helps to build suspense, show you real danger, show you that people die here. People are dying here, and potentially the main character could die here. So I have seen quite a few movies this year, and that is not an exaggeration. And the year's not even over yet, so I'm definitely excited to see what the rest of it brings, because I've been fed movies this year. From A Quiet Place to Deadpool and Wolverine to Dune Part 2, and then you have Twister and even Inside Out 2. There are so many blockbuster movies, let alone the low-key movies, that have come out this year. And this movie, Land of Bad, is still one of my favorites of the whole year, just because of how well it was done, how well it was directed, and how engrossed I was to the film. Now, as a last-minute note, I would just like to point out that I think this is really good for Liam Hemsworth, because he's about to become the Witcher, and that's a really big role to take on, especially after after Henry Cavill decided to walk away from the project, or they fired him, or whatever the situation may be. He's no longer going to be the Witcher, so they hired Liam instead. And I think this is really good publicity for him, because was I personally nervous? Yes, I was, because Henry Cavill did such a good job. It was like he was made to play the Witcher. So to have him be taken away and then you have to replace him with somebody else, and not even somebody like a big known actor, which is a good thing for me. I think it's good that he shouldn't be some massively known person. And like his brother, Chris. Like, Chris and Liam are not on the same line. You know what I mean? Like, Liam and Luke aren't in the same situation. And so I was nervous. Like, a whole bunch of people decided not to watch The Witcher because Henry's leaving. And I myself wasn't sure if I was really gonna give Liam a chance, but I decided, like, especially after watching this movie, that it was important to give him a chance because he did really good in this movie. It wasn't like the movie was bad or his acting was bad. He played well with the side characters. The side characters played well with him, and the movie was really well acted by him. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him as the Witcher and seeing what he can do with the character. Even though it's all an already made and fleshed out character, what are you gonna come in and bring to the character that's gonna be different or the same? Or, are you gonna pick up where Henry left? Are you just gonna create a whole different character? Like, I'm not gonna act like that because I'm this version of Geralt. Like, I'm so nervous about it. But I'm gonna say this movie did, he got back in my good graces, let's say that, because even with this movie being not about The Witcher, it's not fantastical, it's not anything like that, but I still think that it's gonna be a really good movie, or it's gonna be a really good show, because the supporting cast that he has going in with him is really good. Everybody's seen The Witcher so far. Like, the characters on the side that surround Geralt are good characters, so it's not like he'll be going in and doing this alone. And I'm very much invested in seeing the end of series story. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the movie. Please remember to come back and let me know what you think, because I loved it. But if you, for any reason, hated it or didn't like it, which would shock me, come back and let me know why. I would love to know.